vanished without a trace. History is filled with wars, kings, and empires. But scattered in between the familiar tales are stories that seem almost designed to unsettle us. Stories that whisper of sudden silence, of footsteps that lead nowhere, of entire communities or lone travelers that disappear, leaving behind only questions. Some vanishings offer a handful of clues, strange carvings, cryptic log entries, fragments of journals that cut off too soon. Others leave nothing at all, just an emptiness that feels wrong, as though the world itself swallowed them whole. What makes these disappearances so unnerving is not just the absence of answers. It's the idea that if it could happen to them, it could happen to anyone. Tonight, we're exploring 5 of the most unsettling vanishings in history. Some may have logical explanations, buried under the weight of time. Others still haunt historians and locals alike. And one of these tales is not what it seems. Can you tell which? The vanished Roanoke Colony. In 1587, more than 100 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, just off the coast of what we now call North Carolina. They built homes, planted crops, and hoped to create a permanent community in the New World. Their governor, John White, returned to England for supplies. But war with Spain delayed him for 3 long years. When he finally returned in 1590, the settlement was deserted. The houses stood silent, weather-worn, but intact. Tools and personal belongings were gone, as if taken carefully, not left behind in panic. But the colonists themselves? Vanished. The only clue was a single word carved into a wooden post, Croatoan. A nearby island carried that name, but when White searched it, he found no trace of his people. Theories have swirled ever since. Perhaps the settlers joined a local tribe, blending into their communities. Some say they were attacked and killed, their remains lost to time. Others point to disease or starvation. But there are whispers too, that something older and darker was waiting in those woods. The mystery has never been solved, and the fate of the lost colony remains one of America's oldest unsolved disappearances. The disappearance of Flight 19. Fast forward to December 5, 1945. World War II had just ended, but military training flights were still routine. That afternoon, 5 Navy torpedo bombers, collectively known as Flight 19, took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The mission should have been simple. But within hours, radio operators began receiving frantic transmissions. The commander, Charles Taylor, sounded confused. He insisted his compasses weren't working. He didn't know which way was west, or even where the Florida coast was. Other pilots contradicted him, begging to turn west. But Taylor refused. They circled until fuel began to run low. The last words recorded were chilling, all planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. And then, silence. The 5 planes, carrying 14 men, never returned. A rescue plane was sent almost immediately. Within 20 minutes of takeoff, it too vanished, with 6 more men aboard. Not a single piece of wreckage was ever recovered. Official reports cite navigational errors and possible disorientation. But believers in the Bermuda Triangle point to something stranger: storms appearing without warning, instruments gone haywire, ships and planes vanishing as if the sea itself devoured them. Whatever the truth, 20 men disappeared that day. Their final resting place remains unknown. The lost expedition of Percy Fawcett. In the 1920s, Colonel Percy Fawcett was already something of a legend. A respected British explorer, he had mapped large swaths of the Amazon. But he became obsessed with a rumor, a hidden ancient city deep in the rainforest, which he called the City of Zed. In 1925, with his son Jack and a friend named Raleigh Rimmel, Fawcett set out on an expedition to find it. Before leaving, he warned that if they vanished, no rescue party should follow. The jungle, he insisted, was too dangerous. For weeks, letters from Fawcett trickled back to civilization. His last note, sent to his wife, spoke of excitement and high morale as they pushed into unexplored territory. After that, nothing. They were never seen again. Over the years, rumors surfaced. Bones said to be Fawcett's appeared, only to be proven false. Local tribes whispered about tall foreigners who had wandered into their villages, some claiming one stayed for years. Scholars debated whether disease, starvation, or hostile tribes ended his journey. Others wondered if he actually found something he chose not to return from. To this day, adventurers and treasure hunters still enter the jungle, chasing the dream of Zed. Some return empty-handed. Others don't return at all. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse Keepers. The year was 1900, and the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, perched on a rocky Scottish island, was home to 3 keepers, James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. On December 26th, a supply ship arrived. The captain expected to see the light burning from afar, but the lighthouse was dark. Inside, the scene was eerie. 2 sets of oilskins were missing, as if 2 men had gone outside. A chair lay overturned. A meal sat untouched on the table, waiting for men who never returned. The lighthouse log added to the mystery. Entries described one keeper as unusually quiet, and another as crying. The last entry spoke of a terrible storm. Yet no storm had been reported in the area at that time. Investigators suggested a rogue wave might have swept the men away. But skeptics wondered, why would all 3 go out together, leaving the lighthouse unguarded? Others whispered about madness in the isolation, or something far worse, something that came from the sea to claim them. Whatever happened, the 3 men were gone. Their lighthouse remained, forever haunted by absence. The strange vanishing of David Lang. Our final disappearance comes from Gallatin, Tennessee, in 1880. A farmer named David Lang was walking across his field, with his wife and children watching from the porch. Halfway across, in broad daylight, he simply vanished. One moment he was there. The next, gone. His family rushed forward, certain he had stumbled into a sinkhole or trap. But the ground was solid. Neighbors joined the search, scouring every inch of the field. They found nothing. Weeks passed. Then, months later, his children claimed they could hear faint cries for help coming from that same empty field. The voice grew weaker and weaker, until it faded away completely. Some insist this was a case of folklore mistaken for truth. Skeptics argue the story was invented, a legend that spread like wildfire in an era hungry for the bizarre. And yet, the tale endured. For generations, people spoke of the farmer who stepped out of existence. His name still lingers in collections of American mystery stories, unsettling in its simplicity. The unsettling silence. From the jungles of Brazil to the stormy waters of the Atlantic, from a lonely island lighthouse to a quiet Tennessee field, these disappearances remind us of one simple truth: human beings hate loose ends. We crave answers. We demand closure. And when history refuses to give them, the silence feels worse than any explanation. Some of these stories may one day be solved by archaeology, science, or simple chance. Others may never yield their secrets. And one, as you may have guessed, is not what it appears to be. But which one? That choice, I leave to you.